Yeah.
For the better part of 19 years, people would see this performer, broadcaster on the CTV Toronto News, and now has gone on to other things. She's still in the business, people. Say hi to our friend Dana Levinson, everybody. Dana! Dana!
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, yeah.
Are you a Toronto person?
I am, born and raised.
And was television also one of those things? Was television one of those things you always wanted to do, or was it news? What were you attracted to?
Well, in my early years, I was more into theater and film and acting, and I went to university quite young, around 17, went to university. Now that's the norm, but back then that was considered quite young. And my parents begged me to stay in Ontario, don't go to New York, don't leave the country, just go to university in Canada, give it a year and see how you feel. And I went for a year and, of course, fell in love with academics and journalism, and I've always loved the news, and that's where I was pulled towards. And then after the Gulf War, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to report. I know you're like Gulf War.
No, no,
I was young.
You're
but
very
yeah.
young. Did you do news somewhere else first before Toronto?
No.
Wow.
No, I know.
You started at
I started at SIFTO.
Wow.
I started at SIFTO. It was a huge
How would that happen?
It was crazy. I was at the Weather Network. It was my first on-air gig, and I took it because I was told, if you want to stay in Toronto, take whatever comes your way. So I took the gig at the Weather Network, and within a year, I received a message from the then news director of CFTO, Derwin Smith. And he apparently looked up my phone number in the white pages.
Wow.
And he called.
Remember when people did that?
Yeah, people say to me now, what is that? And I say, Google it. Like,
That's right.
Google the white
Someone
pages.
asked me recently, when's the last time you called 411 for something? I was like,
Oh,
411?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine a
Information.
guy was named Derwin. But anyway.
Oh, he was the awesome
gonna say
guy.
that too.
He
I
was
thought I'd
awesome.
let that go.
He was awesome.
Like Derwin.
No,
No,
he
I
was
know.
he was
I
the
know,
he was the
that's
real
it.
deal, you know, like the
Yeah.
old school,
Right.
hardcore.
Yeah, I'd say, I wanted to say, what's the
Factual news.
411 on Derwin?
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. I haven't spoken to
So
him in a
he
long
looked
time.
your
He
number
did.
up.
He looked up Every Levinson. Apparently, had someone from the newsroom call Every Levinson in Toronto. Finally found my parents' phone number. I was not living at home at the time. Left a message. My mom passed on that message to me. I didn't think anything of it, thinking it was like an old resume, an internship, because I interned everywhere, you name it. I was there. I worked for free for years to get into the business. And I finally returned the call, and his assistant at the time said, Derwin would like to meet with you. And I thought it was a joke. I actually really thought it was a joke. And so he called me and asked me to come in, and I went in, and we had a great interview. And on the moment, like in that moment, he said, I'd like to put you in the studio. And I actually thought I was going to I thought the earth was going to open up and I was going to die. I thought, I can't do that. I can't do that. He said, of course you can. Put me in the studio, put on the teleprompter, had me read. I bombed. I was so bad. But
Like broadcast news bomb?
total. It was an absolute movie. I'm
You
telling
know
you.
that
it
reference,
was,
right?
Yeah.
What?
The broadcast news reference where Albert Brooks does news once and he just sweats his way through the entire thing.
It was like that. I mean, I'm
So
not
what,
a
they gave you a
sweater.
news story? Like a
Yeah, they just said, here, read the teleprompter
Okay.
and give it your all, and let's see what you look like on the set. And
Right.
it was very Twilight. You know, I was thinking, what am I doing here? What does he want? What position really am I being interviewed for? And then when I went to leave, and I knew it was, I mean, I sucked. I totally sucked. And he said, well, if not now, then sometime. I'm like, yeah, I'll never see this guy again. And I didn't hear from him for 2 weeks, and he called and he offered me a general news assignment position. Reporter,
Well, he
general
saw
assignment
something.
reporter. Yeah, so he brought me in and as a general news reporter, and I hit the ground running.
Well, you came full circle then, because just before you left CFTO, you were doing weather.
Yeah,
Right.
so for the first 10 years, from 2000 to 2010, I was doing everything and anything on the news. Generally, it was reporting, backfill and anchoring, morning, evening, weekends, often filling in for weather as well. I filled in for sports once, wasn't really my thing. And in 2010, January of 2010, the then news director had asked if he could move me into the weekend weather position. And I would still be reporting during the week, but you have a lot of eyeballs on the weekend, and so a lot of people, as the years went on, a lot of people associated me with just that role, which in some ways I'm very grateful for, but in other ways I didn't like a lot, because become synonymous with one position, but you're multifaceted, and
Right.
I wanted to do it all.
Well, yeah, because I think people see people on television and think, oh, it just must be great to be somebody on television. But after a while, it's like any other job. He and I have both done some TV, and it just becomes a job. And I was, because when you said you were doing weather on the weekends, my first thought is, oh, that's kind of a drag. You have to work weekends. But
Weekend nights.
Weekend nights.
Weekend nights, and I was a single mom for a long time. And, and that really is the story, was that I was alone with 2 babies, and I had a 1.5-year-old and a 4-year-old as
Wow.
a single mom, completely financially independent, and really struggling. And the shift work as a reporter was crazy. It was a free-for-all. It was mornings, nights, evenings, 7 days a week, 8-day rotations. And I really wanted to stay in news, but I really wanted to stay there. That was my family. I loved my CIFTO, my CTV family. And when the news director presented this opportunity, it gave me stability. It was a Saturday to Wednesday shift, and it was certainly a bump in pay because it was considered an anchor position. And I thought I should do it. It would be good for my babies.
I'm sure you get asked this all the time, or did. Was your ultimate goal to be a permanent anchor somewhere?
Yes, it was. It was back then.
Yeah.
As the years, especially in the last, I would say in the last 5 years, let's give 5 years, I saw myself in a role, not just the traditional anchor desk, because I feel like that is being reinvented as we know it right now. It looks the same, but I think in some ways it's being reinvented, and that is due to social media and other various things. But I saw myself in a much deeper role connecting with people, and a lot of that came from the social media pull, because I was starting to connect with viewers that I hadn't been able to do that before. And it also gave me a real drive when I was out there interviewing people. I really felt that I had something more to offer, and I really wanted to do more interviewing and more getting into the guts, let's say.
Is that ultimately why you ended your time at CFTO? And do you mind me
Yeah.
asking how? I don't know
Yeah.
any of the details.
Yeah, but first I have to
Give
tell
us
you.
the W5 on that.
Can I tell you today would have been my
You can-
20th anniversary, January 11th.
My,
Oh,
what?
20 years ago today, I walked in that door, and I had a similar sleep last night. Not as bad as my sleep was 20 years ago, but
bet.
I remember tossing and turning all night long, thinking, how am I going to get out to Scarborough? It's so far. That's all
Yeah,
I kept
it's a long
thinking.
way.
No, I mean
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
in Midtown. It wasn't really
Of course
that far.
you
but
are.
I was yeah. So it was. I remember
So
how
your
I was feeling.
20-year anniversary, and you're here with Humble and Fred.
Yeah,
That
it's
says something
fantastic.
about you.
No,
What
it's
do you think they
fantastic.
would have given you for 20 years?
A pin, I think, or a watch, maybe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
now tell us-
I got luggage at 15 years.
Oh,
they're
did you?
very generous.
Dana
company, yeah.
Levinson is here. If you're not watching us on Twitch and Facebook Live, that voice a lot of us recognize from 19 years at CFTO. So tell us what was
Yeah.
the end? That was the origin story.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the
Yeah.
genesis of how it ended?
I felt, for the last several years, I felt very grateful. That was really part of my problem, is that I really, people talk about practicing gratitude, and I've been doing that before it was actually a catchword, before it became a
Just
thing.
one second. Make
Yeah.
sure the box is closed today, Sean. Thank you. We're going to offer you a present.
Am I getting
Yeah.
a lasagna?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, man.
What do
It
you
is
want?
worth the drive to Etobicoke.
Veggie or meat?
Meat, of course.
Okay.
Come on.
You already, because you've already been given that lasagna. 'Cause
Does
you've
she
done
qualify for another then?
She's done
love
Boone's
it.
show.
Yeah.
I know, but I don't know if you qualify for 2.
Okay.
What do you mean?
But
I'm kidding.
yeah, well, you have to share it with us, though.
Okay.
It's from our friends at Palma Pasta.
Yeah, I
of
know. It's
course.
so good.
It is so
Isn't it?
good.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
brought
Anthony loves when people freak out over the
freak
lasagna.
out. It's so good. Yeah, so
What were
I
you
felt
talking
so
about?
I was
You
I'm
got
saying that
luggage
I,
or something?
No. I was practicing gratitude before
yes.
it became a thing.
Yes.
Really.
Sure.
And I've never, ever, and I'm not just saying this, I mean, people who know me well and people who've worked with me absolutely will attest to this, that I just didn't complain, and I never did the woe is me, and I never played a victim, like, look at my life, I'm a single mother, and I'm struggling, and I need this, and I need that. I never did any of that stuff. And I always felt very grateful that I was working in a newsroom that I dreamed about working in my entire career. I wanted to be there. I loved being there. I loved the people there. I loved the vibe. And so I always was grateful. So I couldn't didn't have that in me to bitch and complain. I wasn't doing that.
Wait a second. You said you were in broadcasting.
Yeah, I did.
And-
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I used to say to people, if you want, I'm actually giving a lecture at the University of Guelph in a few weeks, and I swear I'm going to open it up. If you want to succeed, that's not true, but I wanted to say to people, if you want to succeed in this business as a woman, you have to be a diva. You got to be a little bit of a bitch. But it's not true. I don't believe that. But that's
So
how
why
I
would
felt.
you have said it?
No, I'm not going to say it.
Oh.
I'm saying I should open up with that line. But I never
Right.
was that diva, and I feel that maybe if I would have been more of a self-advocate, if I would have pushed a little bit more, said, no, this isn't working for me, and this wasn't the dream, and this wasn't the goal or the avenue that I was, set out, then maybe things would have been different. But when I started to self-advocate, when I started to say, I need more, and I see myself in a different role, and I want to be moved out of this role and put into that role, it wasn't happening. And I started to do that slowly but surely over the last several years in a very kind, lovely conversations. Everything was always so nice and warm, and
You weren't stamping your feet.
Not
and
at
saying,
all.
I'm Dana Levinson.
no,
for
not at
crying
all.
out loud.
Not at all. And I was received beautifully each time. Like, and
Right.
I walked away from each conversation feeling filled up and
So
so much.
ultimately-
Were they giving you reasons why you weren't getting those positions?
I was just too good at what I was doing, probably.
Oh, really?
Probably.
Which at the time was the weather.
Weather and then
Weather and reporting.
And
but-
sometimes we can be such a great convenience, right? They think if we move Dana from here.
totally. Why would they?
Yeah.
And you know what? I applaud management because they were doing the right thing. It fit into their mold, right? They had so much talent in that place, right? So they have everybody where they need them to be. That being said, looking back now stepping out for several months, and I could look back, I get, I get a little upset. I wish it would have been different.
I still don't. Okay, let's then ultimately, did you resign or were you
Yeah.
resigned?
No,
you
no,
did resign.
I did resign.
You walked
yeah,
away.
I did walk
And-
away.
and
I did.
at
And
the
people
time
don't
you
believe me. That's
Well,
been
no,
a huge
believe
part
you.
of thing.
I
that's
just met
been
you. I
very-
believe you.
Yeah, thank you.
At the time,
Mm-hmm.
you said, "Okay, this isn't working," and you had spoken to them over time. And did you go somewhere, or just say, "I'm done now"?
No, I, in truth, I was looking, but I didn't actively pursue other jobs in media, in other newsrooms, because I knew that would get around very quickly, and
Sure.
I thought that wouldn't be smart, and I really wasn't sure how another newsroom would look. So and really, would it be better than SIFTO? Probably, or CTV? Probably not. So, but I really felt that through my conversations and looking at what is available in this huge world of media, because it's not just the 4 networks anymore, I felt that I needed to walk away in a really beautiful way, and see what's out there. And if it brings me full circle, it brings me full circle. But I needed to take the time.
Well, that's classy.
Thank you.
No, it is. There's a lot of pressure on a lot of, especially television, obviously, to show diversity as well. So, was that in any way?
Show diversity in terms of the cast of people
Yeah.
that are on air.
Visually, yes.
That I'm not diverse looking. You mean?
Yes.
You think you're asking me if that
I'm
I
just
felt that was
saying
a detriment
can
to
that,
me.
Yeah, could that be a detriment to you? Maybe go into a position now that,
You know what?
because that's just a reality.
Yeah,
nowadays.
I don't think so. I thought that when I started out many years, like 25 years ago, I had met a news director, not at CTV. I don't want to say the TV station, who told me I should change my name because my last name really wasn't ethnic.
Wasn't ethnic?
No.
Oh, right.
So I said, okay. And he said, you're blonde and you're not really, I just don't see you here, especially in Toronto, getting an on-air position. And I thought, okay. And that was fair, and it was good advice, but I left my name, and I remember telling my parents this, and they said, Levinson's pretty ethnic. I'm like,
Yeah,
it is? Yeah.
I
I'm
know.
like, I didn't think so at the time, and when I got to SIFTO, everybody thought it was a very ethnic name, but
And it's funny with our people, and I mean, people from Moose Jaw like myself. I'm glad you laughed at that. Jews are always so,
Moose
you know, it's
Jaw.
funny.
Moose
Jews
Jaw,
are
North
always,
York.
they're so, always so surprised when I tell other Jewish people that I'm from Moose Jaw because right
know,
away,
I was really,
the first thing that goes through your brain is, there's Jews in Moose Jaw?
I thought that.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a, different though. On my bar mitzvah, we had a pig roast. Anyway,
Lucky.
that's a joke. My Haftorah, I was taught by an auctioneer. That's a true story.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for some reason, Levinson doesn't read ethnic the same way.
It was the whole
that-
package, right? It
Yeah.
was sort of that, the blonde, white, you know, it was,
Yeah.
but you, this, there-
But Jews are ethnic. Some people debate it. It's-
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
wait a minute.
I
From a
don't know.
clunkhead from Scarborough, Levinson would
No.
not be ethnic.
no,
You know what I mean?
No.
No.
Not
No.
the same way
Yeah.
that someone
No.
with a, an Indian name or
Right.
Exactly.
another name
Right,
would be.
right, completely.
And that's
I-
part of the thing is that we blend in, but we don't in terms of, this anti-Semitism.
But again, it's television. We're talking.
We could talk.
That's becoming
Listen,
very popular again. I don't know if you've noticed
we could,
it. Yeah.
We could talk about that for hours.
But again, we're talking television.
Yes.
We're talking visual. Turn the TV
Yeah,
on.
you look at
see a
Dana and you
different
think,
face. Yeah.
you look like a, just regular white girl.
You think that?
No, I'm saying I can see why they would think that.
Right.
You don't read overtly.
But that was
ethnic.
25 years ago, and
Right.
I never came into that while I was at CTV. That was never an issue. I don't ever even remember having that conversation once in 20 years. I don't feel that now. What I feel now more from people is myself versus millennials. That's what I'm getting. I said, well, I bring a wisdom and a life experience that you're not going to find in a 35-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 25-year-old. So
You also bring a big price tag too. So that's
well, yeah,
Yeah.
from your mouth to every producer's ears. Yeah.
Dana, just hang here for a second.
Yeah.
We got to talk a little bit about a couple of our sponsors.
Yeah.
Let's get to CDN Technologies, and then Sean, let's make the lasagna presentation while we're still on the air here, and then we'll have Dana hang around a second. Let's talk a little bit about how about this little rain dance? There we go. CDN Technologies, everybody.
Hey, contact cdntechnologies.com to learn how to avoid being a victim of a devastating ransomware attack, bank fraud, negative PR, or data breach. cdntechnologies.com is your outsourced computer company providing IT service, IT support, IT security to businesses in and around the GTA. They're everywhere. cdntechnologies.com.
Don't forget Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan. Get a free quote at chamberplan.ca. Small businesses like ours, your business up to 100 people can benefit by the Chamber Plan because it's simple, stable, and smart. You know, there's a whole bunch of new features. One of them is called Teledoc, which some of our listeners are familiar with. Another sponsor that we talked a lot about, this sort of ability to get a hold of a doctor anywhere in the world that you are, and you need to get a quick consultation. If you're a member of the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, you can do it too. All the details at chamberplan.ca. No. Yeah. Dana Levinson. We're gonna be off Funny 820 in about 3 minutes time. So before we leave the broadcast part and head over to the podcast, where will your, if people are become very familiar with you for 20 years, where do we see you now? What are you up to?
Well, I've continued to connect with everyone through social media, so that's a daily thing for me. It's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
At Dana Levinson?
At Dana Levinson TV and at Dana Levinson.
That's a big decision because a 20-year employee, if they asked you to leave, that would come with a nice little envelope.
That's right.
But when you leave on your own accord, it's a different situation.
It's a different situation.
Big decision.
Yeah, it was a huge decision. There was a big lead up to it. There was a huge lead up to it, of course. And it doesn't come without, like I say to people, it's very much like divorce. You don't just wake up in the morning and go, oh, you know what, I think we should separate. It's a lot of planning and a lot of conversations, and it's years of thinking about and doing. And it was the right time. It was absolutely the right time to depart, and fingers crossed it works.
Yeah, but as the Fredman says, and we both have been in this situation where, if you get your contract doesn't get picked up or that's one thing. But and you get terminated, that's a whole other thing. But to just up and leave a job like that.
I know no one believes me. They think I'm bananas.
I know a lesser person would try and get fired.
No, so it's
2 lesser people say. I won't name them, but it rhymes with stumble and fed.
Hey, before we leave, guys, let's make sure we get the beautiful
Oh,
Palma. There we
thank
go.
you. Look what I got.
I love how excited people get.
Well, I love it. So that way I don't have to make dinner tonight.
It's
Just
the
throw this
Palma's
in. My
Kitchen.
kids will be so excited.
Beautiful lasagna. Did we get enough shots of that, of the lasagna? Hold that up. Hold it up to the camera. Dana Levinson's got her Palma pasta lasagna.
I should tell you about my new show that I'm launching.
You should. Hang on. It's palmapasta.com. You can get the same meat lasagna that Dana's got. You've got 30 seconds. And
Yeah.
then what we'll do is we'll have a little quick chat on the podcast extra. So what are you doing?
Oh,
What's
sorry.
your new show?
Yeah, so I'm launching. It's a soft launch. We're going to leverage the show on social media first, and it's called On the DL.
Oh.
And it's intimate, hopefully provocative chat show with people who I find extremely interesting, and hopefully other people find interesting. I've asked our viewers and followers to tell me who they want me to speak to, and I'm starting to film that or tape that over the next couple of weeks, and I'll be launching that on social media. And stay tuned for that at Dana Levinson and Dana Levinson TV on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook.